All right. Oh boy, what a week it has been. Historic. And this is one for the history books of Tesla. We've got the Tesla Master Plan 4, and then we've got the compensation package that came out today. I have Brian Wang with me. Brian is an expert, a deep tech analyst. He's an investor, he's a futurist thought leader, and he runs the prominent science blog, nextbigfuture.com. Brian, thank you so much for joining. It is so fortuitous because when I reached out to you, the comp plan hadn't been released, right?
Right.
We were going to talk about Master Plan 4. There was a lot of debate about whether it was just a word salad. Then Elon came out and I think he made a comment saying that he's going to add some more details and it's only fair that he expand on it. And then boom, you have the comp plan today.
Right.
Where do we stand? It's pretty
So,
crazy.
let's take a look at the comp plan details. We have a little graphic that shows what that is
Yeah.
for people who don't know. So there's operational targets as well as financial targets.
Right.
So the two main ones that relate, or three main ones that relate to the AI autonomy part of Master Plan 4 are 10 million active full self-driving subscriptions, 1 million bots delivered, and 1 million robotaxis in commercial operation. And so people are focused on the second column about the market cap, how, has to be about double before he gets the first money. And then it has to get, can go up to 8 times, 8.5 trillion from 1.05 trillion today for the market cap. And basically to get each set of shares, you need to have one market cap thing going in series, and then one of the operational milestones. And it could be whichever ones aren't fulfilled. Obviously, the EBITDA ones go in sequence because you have to get past 50 to get to 400, right? But making 20 million cars, that could happen first. 10 million FSD. I think Robotaxi will happen first. 1 million Robotaxi.
Okay. Hang on.
First.
I have a question here. And I've seen a lot of discussion, a lot of debate about whether this is an EBITDA-driven timeline or whether this is a milestone-driven timeline. Can you, where do you stand? What is it?
Well, the wording of it is that you can do any one of the operational ones, including EBITDA, right? Or one of the operational ones. So if you could increase, like, let's say energy is not included in this thing. Energy goes crazy. They start selling, 100 million, 100,000 megapacks or whatever it is, right? And then suddenly that explodes, and then the EBITDA goes to 50 billion, right? Up from 15 billion today, right? Then the stock value goes to 2 trillion, and then say, okay, 50 billion EBITDA. I haven't got my 1 million robotaxi. I haven't got my bots. I haven't got my cars. I haven't done FSD. But then I pick off my first EBITDA target, first tranche. That goes away. And then 2.5 trillion. And then what is one of the next operational milestones that hasn't been checked off yet? It could be, 20 million cars. It could be up from 8 million today, or it could be 1 million robotaxi. I think it'll, go ahead.
So 2 trillion, 2+ trillion could come like that.
Right.
Because of the hype around it, everything.
Right.
It doesn't even need to, you don't need to reach and
anything.
These low-hanging fruits. He doesn't need to reach anything.
But the thing is that doesn't give you anything. You can get to 2 trillion, you could get to 4 trillion. And if you haven't done at least one of the operational goals,
right,
50 billion EBITDA, 1 million robotaxi, nothing pays out.
Right.
So, and for that first goal, the 2 trillion, that's about $620 per share.
Right.
Right. So you have to get up from like 350 to 2 trillion.
I think you've got on record in the past couple of months saying that, correct me if I'm wrong, by the end of this year, it could very easily cross 600.
Yeah, that is possible. They could do that, but it would, certain things have to go right. They'd have to, I think, the sales of the YL need to come out, at 100,000 per quarter, which is mostly from China. They may introduce a new car. FSD 14 comes out, and then Robotaxi to remove the driver. So certain things have to happen, which wouldn't trigger necessarily the operational goals that he described there, but enough of it shows that we're on track that the stock could go up. But again, going up to 620 does not pay out anything.
Hmm.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
you could just have the markets rising and a rising tide lifts all boats, and then if you have rate cuts and etc. And
Which
you've
is
got
which is why they said creating real sustainable value. They've
correct,
said
right,
you have to create real sustainable. The other thing is that just flashing up to 620
yeah,
does not pay out anything. Again, there's some stuff in the wording that you have to sustain for a while. I can't go back down. I have to like hold it for a while.
interesting,
And the same thing for the EBITDA. I can't just flash up there. I have to hold it for a while before it
hmm,
pays out. So the actual time could be, okay, I get to 2 trillion, but it takes 6 months or 12 months before it actually is good enough, right?
right,
So it's the board of Tesla says these things have to be sustainable. So it can't be just I do some financial tricks and blah blah blah, and I drive the stock up to $620, and then it
yeah,
goes away the next day. No, that doesn't count. So let's go down to the next slide beyond this.
right,
So these targets are there. So before we go off this, I'll say I think the 1 million robotaxi commercial operation
hmm,
and the 2 trillion, that will be the first one, because in order to scale up to 20 million vehicles,
hmm,
we're at 1.8 million this year, and total cars about 8.5 million. So
right,
then if you get to 3 million cars next year, or 4 million cars next year, really good numbers, and then you get to
anyway,
6 million the year after that, it would take 2.5 years to get to 20 million vehicles, right?
correct,
But
yeah,
1 million robotaxi can happen next year if they open up the network to everyone in the US can join. Half the people in the US, or a third of people in the US
okay.
join.
So I'm gonna ask you to explain this for my audience a bit, because
Yeah.
I think everybody's been assuming that okay, you've got the CyberCab,
CyberCab. Mhm.
which has a production rate of about what 5 or 10 seconds a cab, unbox process, all of that. They just pump it out, start production by the end of the year, maybe ramp it up next year, and boom. But then you're saying that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
You could have
So there's I think they will start production of CyberCab at the beginning of next year, maybe even December this year, but not in any real volumes till Q1 of next year, because it takes
Mhm.
time to get up to that speed, and
Right,
also that speed was based upon full unbox process, which they may not have
right,
of the gate. I'm expecting them to be twice as fast, maybe 3 times as fast as the Shanghai factory in
hmm,
a few months. So then you could get to, ramping from 20,000, 30,000 vehicles per month, getting up to 100,000 vehicles per month. So then next year you could have 500,000, in the perfect case, maybe 1 million vehicles made, right? So then you
right.
would get to the million robotaxi by doing CyberCab. But right now, if I say, okay, Austin's going great. We add some more drivers, add some more cars. We remove the safety monitor, remove the safety driver in California and Austin by the end of the year, which he said in a tweet that that's what they're going to do. Then
Hmm.
you could have 5,000, 10,000 vehicles that would be um, robotaxi without drivers in Austin and in California, right? But then they
Okay.
could add more cars. They could add more cars, just Model 3 or whatever, Model Ys, and then start ramping that up. Because they can make 5,000
So you're
cars.
saying this is the Airbnb model for the
Well, the
robotaxi
the
network.
Airbnb model is that they say, okay, now we will add in the network. We have 3 million cars that are in the United States, and then they can say, on the app, join our network. You can become not an Uber driver, but a driverless Tesla in the
Hmm.
network. You say, okay, I'm not using my car right now. I will send it away. It'll drive itself away, and it'll start taking rides. It'll make you $100, and then it comes back to you, right?
Okay.
So then that would be $100 a day or something like that would be something that they could do. And then Tesla makes $50 or $100. You make $100. You make $30,000 in a year, but you have a robotaxi in the network. Just like right now, you can send your car out on Turo or something like that, but then you have
Hmm.
to rent out the vehicle, right?
Hmm.
But here,
Hmm.
because no driver's involved, it can just drive away and then come back to you.
Okay. So I saw a post. This was a screenshot of the agreement, the user agreement of the Robotaxi app, and it said that you need to agree that if there's a driver behind the wheel, that it's using FSD supervised, and if there's someone in the passenger say next to the driver, then it's completely automated, and that's the robotaxi network car. So then these are multiple cases. So now, could people then even just bring their cars into the network, theoretically, sit behind the wheel and let FSD drive around? Because remember, Elon said by the end of the year, FSD is going to be so great that you will perhaps not need supervision at all.
Right. But the thing is, regulations in different states and different countries could say, even though you think you're safe enough to do it, like right now, California says you must have a safety driver, test driver, right?
Right.
So other places could have rules that say, even though you're having no driver in Texas, you still need a driver here. But then Tesla could say, we want to offer service across the United States, or we want to offer service across Europe, or we want to offer service across China. And the regulatory thing could say, you must have the driver there, right? We're not letting you, get to that point. Even though you think you're safe enough, we want to hold things up for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever it is, right? So then Tesla says, we have flexibility in our legal language or whatever to say it can be without driver, it can be with driver, it can be with monitor.
It all counts as the robotaxi network, right?
Yeah, it can still count for robotaxi. The other thing is that I have said and believe that Tesla should roll out with a mix of driver and driverless. That they should say that we can have, if you want to have a driver there, if you want to be Uber. Like right now, there's about like 100,000 Teslas in the Uber network. Of the 6 million cars in Uber,
exactly
100,000 or 200,000 are Tesla vehicles, and you have drivers. So you can just say, sign up in our network. You can drive for Uber. People drive for Uber, they can drive for Lyft, and they can also drive for Tesla, right? So just bring those cars in, and then you can have that network. And also, there could be people who are reluctant to go in a driver's vehicle, even though it's perfectly safe.
Hurdle to adoption.
Hurdle to adoption. So then you can have a mix and say, okay, it's like I can order Uber X, I can Uber, for a bigger vehicle, or I can order Uber. I can order a Tesla with the driver, Tesla without driver. Even when it's all working without driver, someone could say, I want one with the driver, right? And then they just request it. And then they pay more because they have to pay for the driver. But they say, I don't care. I just want that. So then you could do that. So there's no reason to necessarily be doctrinaire. Like obviously, ultimately, people will want to get to driverless, just like elevators no longer have human elevator operators. Like it'll be to the point where that will be the case.
Wow, Brian, you just blew my mind. You know why? Because then that 1 million number for the robotaxi network, that's such a low-hanging fruit. That could just be around the corner.
I don't think, I have to look at the wording of it. I would presume the wording on robotaxi is no human driver, is my guess. But maybe, in theory, they could allow a supervised form of robotaxi, possible. But I think, again, it's in the detailed fine print about like what they made, right?
Okay, let's go back to your slides.
Okay, so one, these market cap things are, quite big. It's like you need to get twice as big as NVIDIA, the largest company in the world, most valuable company in the world. You have to get twice as much to get the last tranche. You have to pass NVIDIA by tranche 6 in order to become the most valuable company in the world by tranche 6, which is twice as big as Amazon by the 6th one, right? So these are big goals, but I think the market cap ones are actually, if I can hit the EBITDA, which I need to have an operational and the market cap, if I hit $200 billion of EBITDA or $130 billion of EBITDA, I'm probably already at $8 trillion of market cap. And then the last one, $400 billion of EBITDA, then that likely is $20 trillion worth of stock, right? So again, at the next slide. So here's the companies, the most EBITDA. So Microsoft, less value than NVIDIA, but has more EBITDA, right? Twice as much than NVIDIA at 83 billion down below, right? And Tesla is only at about 15 billion. So to get to NVIDIA size EBITDA, they need to go up by like 5-6 times, 5.5 times to get to NVIDIA where it is, right? And then
Right.
the 400 billion is basically 4 times, 5 times as much EBITDA as NVIDIA has. So
Right.
presumably you did that with fast growth. So then if you're at 400 billion with fast growth and you have 5 times as much EBITDA as NVIDIA, the stock market is probably going to value you at 20 trillion, right?
Wow.
So what does that mean? People say, well, that means there'll be a $2 trillion comp plan for Elon, right? If he's getting, a chunk, that much of $2 trillion. But if you look at it from the shareholder point of view, I own shares in Tesla. I own, say, $150,000 worth of Tesla, just shy of 500 shares, right? If he hits the $8.5 trillion number, I'm going to get $700,000 or so worth of value on my $150,000. I'll go like $850,000,
Right.
and then Elon gets a 12% tip,
Correct.
right? Because hey, thank you for increasing my net worth from 150,000 to 850,000, and here's a tip of 150,000, right?
Right.
But the thing is, but he doesn't get it just on the market cap. He also has to hit the EBITDA. So if he
Right.
got 400 billion EBITDA, market cap probably went to 20 trillion. So then
Yeah.
my 150,000 went to $2 million.
Yeah.
And I now give you a $150,000 tip, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it'd be 300,000 because the shares or whatever it double up.
Correct.
So then
Yeah.
it give you even more, but I get more because I'm only giving you 12%. I keep 88%, right? So EBITDA is the harder numbers to hit because you have to go like 5 times more than what NVIDIA has, and it is the one that's more valuable. So basically, Joe Tegmeyer has shown that there are the castings for the front and back for the CyberCab, as well as the
Right.
casting for the middle, right? And then we know that there's a bottom structural battery pack. So really 4 big pieces plus some doors and hoods and wheels, and then you have a CyberCab. So that's the giant Lego thing that's coming together for CyberCab, that they will be able to make this in high volume and quick, and probably at only $17,000 per car, right? So this is coming very, very soon because they're already practicing making the big pieces, and the big pieces are only so simple, only like 4 major pieces, and then obviously it's easy to make wheels, it's easy to make doors, right? It all comes together into a giant Lego CyberCab.
Pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking that, one with the Airbnb model and with using cars that already exist, and then actually fast built cybercabs, that the first number to hit will be the $2 trillion market valuation with 1 million robotaxi. And if you have 1 million robotaxi, you will hit the $50 billion EBITDA, because you will have, if you make $50,000 per robotaxi per year, which most people expect, then 1 year after you have your robotaxi fleet going, you will hit the $50 billion in EBITDA. And plus you're still making 10, 15, $30 billion EBITDA on energy, cars, and on, right? So that's the kind of sequence that you're going to hit. So I expect they'll be knocking off these tranches as probably as early as late 2026 for the 1 million robotaxi, and then the $50 billion EBITDA in early 2027, and then the 10 million FSD probably shortly thereafter, something like that. That'd be a sequence I expect, and then the bigger EBITDA numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, because it hit me immediately that these targets aren't that tough, really, if you look at what was already planned.
But they're tough, but they have to execute. Like right now, we
Oh,
say
for
that
sure. Oh, for
everyone's
sure.
been doubting it. Like if you look on the betting markets, they're saying, oh, they're not going to
But
have the
that's good
first.
for people like us, right?
Right. They're saying that the first robotaxi payment won't happen until next year, right? Like 80% chance it's not going to happen this year, and that
So what?
yeah, I know. But I'm saying, so people who say it's easy versus they say it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
never going to get to all-time highs again. It's never going to go beyond all-time highs. And they're saying, well, until he gets to almost $150 dollars above the 488 all-time high, he doesn't even get the first payment. It's like he has to get it well beyond all-time highs before he sees $1 or one share of his award, and he probably have to hold it there for a while too.
Yeah,
right?
of course. And but that's where the doubting Thomases need to also get some perspective, and the naysayers need to get some perspective, and those who criticize. And
right,
it's like, it's
and
like
then,
he's got to really, really work hard, and it's got to be, the execution has to be perfect, and even then, hold on.
Right. And they get to 1 million robotaxis.
Yeah.
People are probably saying that won't happen for 10 years, right? So that's the bulk of them are saying that's not going to happen for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So then the fact that it could happen next year or the year after is immaculate execution that other than the bulls, no one's expecting that could happen.
No one's expecting. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I say
but then there's a lack of understanding. There's a delta gap in understanding, I think. So I look at that number, 1 million cybercabs, 1 million bots.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, hang on. This could just so easily be achieved by 2029 or 2030, or perhaps even before, depending on how they ramp. And of course, when it comes to bots, there's a whole question of supply chains as well for the actuators, the screws, and all of that. And they've got to get Gen 3 sorted out. But it's achievable. And this is, so it's been set out as a 10-year plan, but it could very well be within the next 4 years.
Right, which is how long it took last time. When he did 2018, he achieved it by 2022, right?
Correct.
So he did a 10-year plan in 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Which, to me, as a shareholder, is great. You 8x the company or 20x the company in 4 years. That is wonderful, because basically I'm expecting him to get to $20 trillion by hitting the $400 billion EBITDA, right?
Yeah.
So then he's 20x the company, and then he gets 12%. So that's wonderful. All my investments should be like that, right? so and then people say, well, Jensen NVIDIA did it. Yeah, he did it, but he didn't tell you beforehand he was going to do it.
Correct.
And he didn't say, I want to only get paid if this happens. It's like I don't take the risk of not being paid at all if I don't get this execution to happen. It's like Babe Ruth doesn't get paid until he hits 500 home runs out.
A zillion home runs.
Yeah, it's like once it's done, people say, "Oh, it's so easy." It's so easy. Then all the other CEOs need to do it. Right?
Yeah, but then there's not another single CEO who's going to be willing to take this deal.
Right.
There wouldn't have been for the last one. There ain't any for this one.
Right.
And that should tell you just how crazy it is and how beneficial it is for shareholders. Like us.
And the other thing is that everyone's saying all this stuff is impossible until Elon says, pay me if I do it. Right. And then suddenly, now that's too easy. It's like before you were saying 1 million robotaxi was impossible. You're saying that even taking out the driver was impossible.
Yeah.
Right. You're saying all this is impossible. And then now you're saying, Elon says, I will do it. And then saying, oh, now it's too easy. Now he'll do it in a year or two. It's like,
maybe
really?
He needs a little bit more LiDAR.
Right. Maybe more LiDAR. Right.
Oh, man. I think the delta gap in understanding between the believers and those who understand the bulls and the rest is so deep. But I was really happy to see Andrew Ross and the Sorkin, do a decent job earlier today in breaking down and analyzing this. Of course, this is just the early hours still, and there's a lot left to digest.
Yeah.
But I think the mainstream media is beginning to get it. Do you see that as well?
Yeah. I think they're beginning to get it. I think Sorkin was correct on the 2018 pay package. He said back then hey, this is an amazing thing to do. It all seems impossible. And, if you can do it, the shareholders get rich and it's great. And consistently, this is the same kind of pay package. And if he does it, it's great for the shareholders. It's like, it's like you're holding, 150,000 worth of shares. And he's saying within 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, I'm going to turn that into $2 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's, way better than, NASDAQ, QQQ or whatever. Right.
Yeah. All right, let's go back to your slides.
Well, just the unbox process. They had to do. People say, "Oh, that's so easy" and stuff like that. It is. They had to get 40-volt architecture, the stuff they perfected in Cyber truck, and they had to get steer by wire and brake by wire, which I think only one of those is working in Cybertruck in order to make this kind of work, where it can snap things together, right? So there was a bunch of technology. The years of Cybertruck's not so a success. They had to do it in order to develop this technology, and also the ultimate production of this will be unboxed with Tesla bots, not unboxed with humans. Unboxed with humans, maybe it's only twice as fast or 3 times as fast or something like that. Where the pieces, like if you look at each of those pieces, 4 people can stand around each of those sections, right? Instead of 2 people or 1 person climbing inside of a frame of a vehicle, right? So that's why it's faster. You can have things working separately, more people, more bots around it, and then it all comes together and snaps together. Okay, next one was just there's just a pricing model by a cost model by AJ, where the main thing in the top line, $17,000 roughly in a detailed analysis, and it can get to 20 cents per mile, 22 cents per mile cost, so that you can be highly profitable at 36 cents per mile. 36 cents per mile is about 8 times cheaper than Uber and Waymo. Right? And it would mean it'd be half the cost of the 70 cents per mile for if you own your car. So this will make it so that transportation becomes cheaper for everyone, right? For old people, for people who can't drive yet, right? It will transform our world when this happens. So,
and I believe it will transform our cityscapes, and people will want to move further into the suburbs because automation and autonomy in transport is going to solve so many problems.
Right. And then the other thing was that the Model YL is being successful in China. It's the bigger one, the 60. And potentially that could add 100,000 per quarter. So it just goes to the execution starting to happen. Just that there's a large market for the 3-row SUV in China. About 2.5 million 3-row vehicles, 1.2 million of those are plug-in hybrid or electric. So if the YL gets a large chunk of that, they could outsell their own standard Model Y with the YL.
Okay. Let's just assume that he does this by 2030. Now, Elon's what, 54? There's also that little bit there. I think it's the last two, where there's got to be a succession, a CEO. They're framing it as succession. But Elon has said it time and again that he doesn't want to be CEO. Does it mean that he'll step away when these targets are achieved?
Well, no, he can't step away because he has to stay there for 7.5 years after the targets are hit.
To hold on to those, to
hold on to the shares. So he can't leave without giving up his shares for 7.5 years. So basically, it locks him in for 10 years, right? Does he have to see?
If he achieves this in 5, you could just as easily have another comp package because there's so many more products. There's drones. There's the next level. And I read something interesting in the fine print when it came to the robots. And it said, even if Tesla takes over another company that provides a certain value add, and that's point A, and point B, that you could have Optimus in different forms. It's not necessarily just one. So I found that very interesting because that was signposting. Perhaps the next iteration in
product. So they've thoroughly considered a lot of different variables because 10 years is a long time, and many things can happen. I also pretty sure they give an out where if Elon dies or gets sick, then the staying there, no need to have Weekend at Bernie's or something like that, where you gotta keep him around. It's like, yes, if you get killed, it's not on you. So he will hang around, but the last 2 tranches required to have a succession plan, not necessarily activated, but it has to be that he
Right.
has
That's the
some.
distinction.
I have a picked
Correct.
successor, and
Right.
the ways all things work is like I think Jack Welch had a picked successor, but then he ended up
Yeah.
giving it to someone else ultimately, right?
Yeah.
So, but just having a firm plan, everything organized, so it's orderly in case, is what they want.
Mm. How much of that is compliance, I wonder?
I think it's just because he is
Because
54 now.
the key man problem ever since, I mean, for the past few years, even before Elon got into dabbled with politics, etc. So there's always been the key man issue, right? What happens to Elon? What happens to succession?
Yeah.
But this then formulating that for compliance, or because right now Elon is Techno King and CEO,
Right.
right? As per this filing.
So my anticipation, what happens is this all gets completed in 4 to 6 years.
Right.
Right. Then he has to stay there for a time,
Yeah.
and then he'll, in order for this to kind of play out, it still goes up, but they have an overlapping next plan, right? Where it says, okay,
Yeah.
and then we go to Mars, we do this, we do that, and everything else goes even more crazy, and we have a billion bots and a billion
Yeah. So you
robotaxi,
agree
whatever.
with me? There's got to be a next plan. This is my bet. There's got to be a next
Yeah,
plan.
yeah, it'll be next plan. Yeah, it'll be next plan.
Great.
And then it will go up to, $100 trillion evaluation, $200 trillion evaluation,
Yeah.
and Elon will get another, 10%. So he'll have 35% or 32% or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And then if he gets the next plan, he'll pay, if he makes $100 trillion, he'll pay 40 trillion in taxes and take care of the national debt. So, it's, he gives benefits to the people of like solving some problems if things work out.
I know it's pretty crazy when you think.
Yeah. So I expect another plan, and then, but thinking they'll have a succession plan in place for the person who's shadowing, just in case something happens, because things can go crazy, and who knows what happens.
But I imagine the flywheel would be spinning pretty fast by then, right?
But the thing is, as we've seen, the flywheel doesn't automatically keep going, right?
Right.
Everyone thought, okay, hey, we got Model 3, Model Y, we're going to keep going to 20 million vehicles and all that kind of stuff, and that didn't happen, right? Yet, right? So it's can take a lot of extra work to make something like that happen, right?
Yeah.
The impossible just doesn't like, oh yeah, boom, it happened.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's so many extraneous circumstances and factors that play into this, like geopolitics and global supply chains and all of that that plays into it. But then, all things considered, all things constant, this is what we're expecting. Wonderful. Okay, so Brian, I got to thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, this was fortuitous that I got to talk to you when the comp plan got out. We started out with the master plan for. It's making a lot more sense now with the comp plan. Right?
I did say in a previous video with another, I think it was Randy Kirk, that comp plan and master plan would be fused together. The autonomy and the details of it would be there, and the execution of Master Plan 4 would be basically the execution of this pay package. So that's looks like what's going to happen.
Perfection. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Till next time.
Bye-bye.